Hey, good afternoon, good morning, everyone, residents of Granite Hill. My name's Jared Williams. Live here in Granite Hill, Unit 347 in Sheffield. Um, just was kind of want to make a quick video. I'm not sure how quick this is going to be, but wanted to make a video for the residents who may not be familiar with the full entirety of the situation that is occurring here with the new construction. This Ridgeback LLC at present, that's going to be the name of it. And the developer and all the changes that have been made, and now we have the newest change for the bus depot basically running through our property. And we'll get to all those details and stuff. I've lived here since 2009. My son was a kid back then. He's grown and moved out. It's my wife and I and our dog. And it's always been a peaceful place. And to some extent, it still is. I'm not so sure it will be once we have buses running through here constantly, especially where I'm located, where my property backs up directly behind where the big table speed bump is coming down towards the pool area. I'll be listening to these buses smash over there all day long. Plus, I have the contractor bays right behind my unit. So, yeah, if I known any of this stuff could ever happen, I probably would have never bought my property in the first place. Neither here nor there. We are here where we're at. Back in 2020, originally, when they began clearing the land, and that was a joint venture. Dubois Group had done some work for Ambrose Equipment, which is the next property over on Hooksett Road. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Or if you've come down here and you look through where they slashed all the trees down, you can see basically their equipment storage yard. Or it almost looks like a junkyard, and in full view. So Mr. Grapponi got permitting at that time to clear that land. When that occurred, I called the town and inquired, and they said, "Oh, he has the permitting and everything, and the man has a right to develop on his property as long as he's abiding by the laws." At that time, I was informed that there had to be a 40-foot buffer zone of trees along between the Granite Hill property and that property next to us where the contractor bays are, as well as down by the pool area where they're going to put where the newly proposed bus depot is going to be located. And I was okay with that. And I pulled up the zoning ordinances at the time, and it said it's an impervious buffer. That's a pretty strong word. That turned out not to be true. I called the town back after I did a quick research and pulled the property deed and looked. And I also found a real estate listing at the time. Now, Mr. Grapponi from KW Metropolitan Real Estate was selling the land, and his name is on the deed personally, so it's his property. He was trying to sell it at that time, and he was listing it on a bunch of industrial websites as having full state, town approvals, etc., and an approved site plan for a storage facility. So I called the town back shortly after I spoke with them the first time, and they said no, there's no approvals at the town, and there's nobody's approved a storage facility. And the picture he had was actually of the elderly care facility for those proposed back in the late 1980s or 90s, which never was built. So that was not only disingenuous, it was fairly false advertising. The town was pretty surprised to hear about that, and they were immediately let the planning board know. And a couple days later, those ads were taken down off the internet because, he was frankly trying to get rid of the land. Fast forward now to 2021. I'm going to switch over here to show you some stuff. So this was September 14th, 2021, that the Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting, or the ZBA. And at that meeting, it was pitched that this project was to be for the benefit of the residents of Granite Hill. So Doug McGuire of the Dubois Group, he spoke at the meeting last week, and I'm sure we will be seeing him again on Monday evening, and I would encourage everyone, please attend. He says, quote, "I am here representing Dave Grapponi, the owner and applicant of the property. This was originally approved in 2009 as a self-storage facility. It is located next to the Hooksett fireworks and abuts Granite Hill. The applicant wants to downsize the development and is proposing a self-storage lot for vehicles, RVs, and or boats. There are a lot of residents in the area that do not have room to store these items due to the current rules. Wow, how nice of him. He wanted to build us a storage facility. And that would be great. And yet now here we are, we're going to get a bus depot. But you can see how this all kind of started. Maybe a little disingenuous when we get to where we're at now. This is stuff that I had written to the town, but I mean, basically, there's no benefit for a bus depot. So after that, we move forward here. Basically, in February of this past year, and they came down in the wintertime when nobody was around down at the rec area and the pool area, and they slashed down they cleared all the land, and they cleared right up to the road on Thames Road here, where Maidstone intersects. You can see right down to Hooksett Road, and you look right over onto Ambrose Equipment Storage Facility. So at that time, that's when I kind of got involved in this, because I said, well, wait a second. I called the town in 2020, and they told me there's going to be a 40-foot buffer zone, and now what's going on here? That was my first big mistake. I trusted the government. I'll never make that mistake again. You know, I was always raised to have a somewhat healthy distrust of the government, but now I just downright do not trust the government because of what we see here that has occurred. Because basically what happened was, at that time, this is at the Zoning Board of Adjustment reading. This is the same meeting we were just talking about. And here it says, later in the same meeting, there was some discussion. There was some apprehension about the removal of the buffer zone. This is Dave Ross here, and he was one of the representatives. He's on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. So this is before the vote. He says, they have a set of plans that are 12 years old. The rules have changed. I thought we had a 50-foot buffer requirement now. So I thought we had a 40-foot. I believe in the performance zone specifications there is actually a 40-foot buffer. But either way, there's supposed to be a buffer zone of trees between there. It sounds like he goes on, it sounds like there are changes of how the property was going to be used. And I would be surprised if there have not been any rule changes. I do not agree with doing these things by variance and special exception. You are setting a precedent. Someone else can come in and say they have a hardship. I don't like it. And I think it needs to be reviewed based on today's rules. There has to be a statute of limitations on how long you can let something hang. I don't like special exceptions unless there is a hardship. He was right in saying that because there are rules to getting a special exemption. And you have to prove hardship. Nothing was proved here. Basically, the precedent for that is a rule here. So there was a Barrington East Owners Association versus the town of Barrington, 121 New Hampshire 627. And that was a 1981 Supreme Court case. And it was a very similar situation that occurred with a special exemption granted via variance without proof of hardship. But regardless, the way it's supposed to go is what they call a simplex test. Now, that was another Supreme Court case as well, where the town and one of the parties involved was a business by the name of Simplex. But basically, the Supreme Court found in that case as well that there are 3 requirements that need to be fulfilled for the town to grant the special variance, And one of them is obviously here the regulations apply to the property interferes with the applicant's reasonable use of the property considering the unique setting of the property and its environment. I'm not so sure that applies here, for one. No fair and substantial relationship exists between the general purposes of the regulation, the specific restriction on the property, and the third, the variance would not injure the public or private property rights of others. Well, I'm pretty sure they violated our rights here in Granite Hill. Technically, most of the land that they cleared up to the road, especially down by the recreation area, was an easement. And that was to be used to basically construct and then pass over, and then it was supposed to be restored back to its original state. but Mr. Capone and his lawyer, they're very good at what they do. And they went down, they got a summary judgment behind everybody's back, and they told the board of directors, they told the planning board, that that they negotiated with the condo association. We learned at the last town meeting, if anyone was there, that was patently false. That never happened. They basically just stole the land that is ours, and now it's become theirs. And the town has agreed to give them that variance, and that's what happened here. So if we move on here, this came up at the last meeting. This was 11/22/22. This at that same meeting actually here. Dave Grapponi says we have all of the DES permits and the application has been brought up to the date. And we found out at the last meeting that was not true. And they had a permit application in, and I contacted the state, inquired about that. I don't know why the planning board or our local officials did not do their own due diligence, and why the residents have to do their job, but we found out that's not true, and we now know that there's a construction stop there. And this was the conservation at the conservation meeting where this was, and Phil at 1461 Hooksett Road AOT permit, did it come before us? Cindy, I'm not sure. At that same meeting, they just voted it as a closed matter. Nobody followed up on it. Just, absolutely just gross negligence, in my personal opinion. So, if we move forward again, this is October 18th, 2021. Now we're here, Mr. Grappone's back again. We are here to work on the southern portion of the site and are proposing a simple self-storage lot for vehicles. Mr. Grappone thought there is potential need in this location for storage of larger vehicles such as RVs and boats, especially being next to Granite Hill. This is a low-impact use and will not be an occupied area. The people keeping their RV or boat there would be given an electronic access fence to take them in and out, and we are proposing 40 spaces. Most can accommodate RV-sized campers. Great. So again, we're now back to, hey, this is something that is being proposed, as something for the residents of Granite Hill that we could use here. Doug McGuire from DeBay Group again, he states this would be landscaped. This is in the performance zone. And then below that, and then C, Stelmack says, you said this is mostly for the residents of Granite Hill. Doug McGuire, D. McGuire. It would be open to any customer. They would have access to Thames roads, and that goes to a signal at Granite Hill. So, they dodged that question right there. They're pitching it as, if you will, that this is supposed to be something for us residents here in Granite Hill. That's the furthest thing from the truth, because he dodges the question there. No, it's open to any customer. Yeah. So the town, they bring these things up. And then, again, Doug McGuire goes on to say, here we have not gotten any feedback either way. They asked, have you gotten feedback from the residents of Granite Hill? We have not gotten any feedback either way. This is lacking visibility, so we thought this was a good use. So again, now we're back to, hey, this is a benefit of the residents of Granite Hill, but we didn't bother asking them. We didn't bother getting their feedback, because it's lacking visibility, i.e. it's not going to be seen from Route 3. And that's all they care about. And now, here we are, October 3rd, 2022. This is another planning board meeting. Now they're saying here, they removed all the landscape standards they agreed to. They come back before the board again. D. Boughton says, I live at Granite Hill, so I won't be voting on this. I can respect that. You have to recuse yourself, and that is respectful. He says, have you spoken with the people of Granite Hill about this project? D. McGuire. They have been notified of this development, and there has been some tree clearing that was done. That the property manager came out and discussions were had. I have not had any follow-up discussions specifically on this proposal. Again, here he is again. They're asking him, have you even consulted with these people? And as we know, or anyone attended the meeting, Alan O'Brien wasn't aware of any of this stuff. He wasn't aware in 2020. they notify via certified mail, but you know, it's a lot of this stuff is kind of just done right underneath our noses. Shame on us, I guess, to some extent. At least now we're starting to wake up. At that time, they also pitched this again at that planning board meeting as, this is not a visible portion right off the main road. It's more of a destination spot. I would categorize both of these uses as very low traffic generators. So here we are again. Now all of a sudden we're talking about low traffic generation, and now they want to change it to a bus depot. So this was all back in October, and now we're getting to where we're coming to. There was some discussion at that time about more landscaping, because again, every time they came before the board, they would change and try to remove the landscaping on there, and argue that they didn't need to live up to performance zone standards, etc. And at that time, again, we get another conversation. DeGrapponi, are you talking about where the swimming pool and rec area is? D. Boughton, yes. DeGrapponi, they don't come up that far. The street goes up the other way. As if, basically he's saying that, like, we, the people of Granite Hill, don't use the recreation area. We don't go to the swimming pool. No big deal. Nobody cares. We don't care. That's the furthest thing from the truth is, and D. Boughton says, they most certainly do. I live there. DeGrapponi, but you don't go up in that area. The rec area is where it's going to be. So, again, here he is again, Dave Grapponi is, just speaking for the people of Granite Hill. He doesn't live here. He doesn't even live in Hooksett. His only thing, his interest in this town really is just to make money, and that's it. In these exchanges at these planning board meetings and stuff, they really show the sense of entitlement and the contempt towards the people that live here, and that we're just pests impeding his projects for making money. And this is before they even proposed this bus depot. So it's just disingenuous. If we move forward here, this is the final approval now of the site plan. This is October 17th, 2022. They came back. They said, Pete Scarpetti says, thank you for making the changes in the plan. It looks very good. He mentioned motions for the approval. They got their 10,080 square foot commercial complex with all of the contractor bays. And there's a lot more stuff I could have covered in here. And I'm trying to keep this as short as possible, but it's not easy because this really is a crazy saga here. And then N. Williams brings up the fact that the number of arborvitaes on the southern revision is different than the one we have. Again, here we go. They're trying to pull a fast one back on the town again. They're removing more landscaping and hoping that that the board doesn't see it. And Doug McGuire, that might have been an interim set. What we are proposing is what you asked for. We had breaks in the arborvitae along the property line. We made it more of a wall of green with the privacy slats. I will make sure that this plan is provided to you as part of our approval conditions. How many will there be? Total of 31. And basically they voted, and it's 7-0. So now they got what they got this plan approved. Now that was October 17, 2022. At the time when I spoke with the state on their alteration of terrain permit, which was still pending and which resulted in the shutdown that's currently on the land where they're developing, because we caught them and they were not supposed to be moving anything over there at all. And I don't know what happened to the engineer. I'm trying to get more information back from the state. The gentleman the engineer who was doing the permitting, I'm not sure if he's actually with the state any longer. When I inquired again this past week, earlier in the week, I had sent an email inquiry through, and I did not get any response back. I followed again on Friday, and I got an undeliverable kickback, and that the address was no longer found. I went on the state website. It appears his profile was gone. I emailed another party. I'm trying to get information from the state to find out what exactly is going on, and try to get some answers as to where that stands and when that construction will resume, and some other technical questions. But either way, whatever happened there with that, it wasn't supposed to happen. There was supposed to be no construction that actually started here. And the town really, dropped the ball on this. Frankly, it's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting what we're seeing here. This is, one. It's really an issue of just gross government overreach, from the standpoint of that they just, no protection no protection, no consideration for the residents of Granite Hill whatsoever. They took, in essence, took our land or allowed it to be taken. The court systems did that, and they gave them special exemptions, all kinds of variances. They keep coming back and they make changes to these plans and try to remove the landscaping. They don't have their permits done. They're not supposed to be doing construction. This is just a prime example of, the government not doing what it is supposed to be doing, which is those folks that are elected are public servants, and they're supposed to protect, the interests of the residents of the town. And clearly that's not. There's much more concern with the business interests than there are with the people. And those zoning laws are there to protect the people, not the businesses. That's why, because businesses will take advantage. And, this is just a prime example of failure of government to do its duty. And on top of that, we'll go into here. They're eligible for a special tax exemption on the RSA 7280-3. And that's a 25% tax credit for 5 years on that property. Let me switch over here real quick and see. That is right here. And this is the tax map 18 lot 49D is the property we're talking about. This was back on in the agenda item 17.2, and I believe this was back in 2021 when they actually passed this special exemption because they felt like they needed to get people to develop on these lands. Basically, the motion shall exempt any increases. So basically what they get is they get a special tax break. The motion shall exempt any increases in real property taxable value as a result of new structures, additions, renovations, or improvements to existing structures up to 25% annually for a period of time not to exceed 5 years from the date of application of approval. But basically, the long and short of it is that, this developer gets a 25% tax break for the next 5 years. On top of it, any improvements he makes to the land, i.e., he's going to make the building, he's going to do this parking lot, they're not going to increase his taxable value to that property for that 5 years. I looked and he purchased that property for around $300,000. So basically, he's paying less in taxes than a normal Granite Hill resident's going to pay. And he gets an extra 25% discount. And in the meantime, our taxes go up because we have to basically subsidize these developers so that they'll build on the land. As if they don't already have enough incentive that, under the currently approved plan. So let me show something here. Let me switch back over. So this is the currently approved plan here. Now this was basically, this is what the area used to look like. This was all the woods. This was all, at one time, Granite Hill land. A lot of this we still own throughout here. And this is Gary Avenue down here, Ambrose Equipment down here. This is historical data. This is probably around 2010, 2011. This is what it used to look like. Now this is with the overlay of the currently approved site plan here. You have the contractor bays. This here is this is the approved plan. This is not the bus depot. This is what they already got. This would be the RV storage. This line right here on this diagonal is his property. This is the piece. This is Granite Hill property. This was taken via the easement. This easement here was really designed for this right here, to allow them to come through, maybe cut some trees down so they could access and build their stuff. and then they're supposed to restore that or leave this, whatever they take down, and replace it. Instead, their lawyer was able to get them a summary judgment, and they actually just were able to take this land permanently. As you see, they have a bunch. Actually, I calculated this out. I think they have 10 parking spaces here. They cross the land out of 50 spaces. Approximately 20% of their net revenue will be made off of what was condo association land. How do you like that, right? So this is the approved plan. So this is his fallback plan. If this is not with the bus depot, and again, so he gets all this, and these poor people as well. They got all theirs taken back here, which I'm not sure exactly where their property lines were, but yeah. So I started dealing with this with the town quite a while ago, and that was here. Let me start this back. This went back when I found out about a lot of this stuff, and I wrote, and these are some performance zone standards. But basically, the long and short of it is none of this was supposed to happen. And this was that Ambrosia property equipment back in 2011. So what it used to look like from Gary Avenue. They had some arborvitaes here. This was their old storage yard. This is what the front of Ambrose Equipment, or this was CRW at this time, but this is the Ambrose Equipment property. This is what it looked like back in 2011. According to Google Street Views, this was all the land that is subsequently cleared out. This is currently what it looks like now from 2022. They got all these, again, the town granted them variances on all this. They're supposed to have screening, keep all this on. It's supposed to look nice, and this doesn't look nice. This is all visible from Hooksett Road. This is the town's idea of, performance zoning here. Does it look like performance zoning? I don't think so. I mean, this is because, again, Ambrose Equipment got all kinds of variances again, and the town just graciously gave them these variances. It just blows my mind. And this is obviously what it looks like. This is what we got. This is what the town gave us. This is at the end of Maidstone, so anyone who drives or is located in the lower portion of Granite Hill will understand this. And this is not supposed to be what is happening. And I'm not even sure if the town knew about this, because when we presented these pictures at the meeting last week, you could see the shocked look on some of their faces. So these folks are voting on stuff that they don't even understand what they're doing. This is what it kind of looks like from my rear porch. I've been dealing with this view here. It's just wonderful. At the end of the road, you're driving down Maidstone. It's just, it's disgusting. It looks like a trash heap. It's just a shame that the town, saw fit to do this to us. Again, and this is stuff that I sent to the town already, and I was told that Ambrose Equipment was in full compliance and that this was basically acceptable to the town, that they granted this variance, and none of this needed to be screened from view from the residents of Granite Hill, and that's apparently what passes as good zoning here inside of this town. It's really just, do they really care about the residents? No, they just, at least I don't think so. Anyways, there's so much more a timeline as far as what's going on with this bus depot. Clearly, they got their approval in October. You can go over here to the school budget meeting. This was November 10th, 2022. SAU agreed last week to enter into negotiations with First Student. First Student serves many districts in the neighboring community. This will be a 16.3% increase of $193,853. The increase is due to startup costs, and they will need to lease land in the district as well as the cost of fuel. So basically, yes, our taxes, in a sense, went up because we needed to find a new bus company. Now there's other stuff behind that, pandemic, driver shortages, etc. There's a lot. You can go read school board meetings. But so this is part of the negotiations with First Student. Now this happened back in November, right? So at this point, we're talking November. Grapponi has a site plan approved basically in mid-October. the state puts in a request for information in November of 2022, never responded to. They clear the land in February. And basically, in, I believe it was January 9th, I don't know if I have that pulled up right away, but Mr. Grapponi had filed a new LLC. Let me look at something here. This is not the right one. This is Mr. Grapponi's lawyer's LLC. So this is actually, we'll go for that real quick here. This is the lawyer that was representing Mr. Grapponi's interest. This is the lawyer that got the summary judgment against the condo association without our knowledge, which was resulted in the taking of the common area via easement. They permanently acquired that. These are LLCs listed under his name. Now, some of these are legitimate businesses, etc. What kind of gets crazy, which again, this is some of the things that these real estate developers do. It timed out. Basically, they list under a bunch of crazy LLC names. Makes it very hard to figure out who the properties are. The long and short is, Mr. Grapponi on January 9th, 2023, filed for a new LLC, and that's going to be called 1461 LLC. Hooksett. I think it's 1461 Hooksett LLC. And that's going to be the new business name. Right now, Ridgeback, they needed to keep the LLC name because that was what the agreement that they predicated taking the easement under. Now, they cannot change that name or move that into a new business entity until they have a final approved site plan, which now they're going for this bus depot. So they're kind of in a holding pattern, but they're set up so that basically once this is approved, they will most likely, they're going to dissolve Ridgeback LLC. Mr. Grapponi will roll that into 1461 Hooksett LLC, and then at that point, that will then basically be dissolved as a merged, managed LLC under a fictitious name. And I'll do another video at some point to show you guys some of this stuff and how this all works. But it will be hidden away. Nobody will know who owns that property. It'll be under his attorney's filing. Very, very hard to trace. It's just typical developer things because they hide the amount of properties they own. Makes it very difficult to trace down, makes it very difficult when you're challenging stuff like this at the town. It took hours of research to find a lot of this stuff because it's very well hidden. A lot of these filings are done, they have to be posted in public, but they post them on very weird websites. These guys are very good at what they do. They're very good at what they do. They are skilled at it. And so I hope everyone kind of understands the uphill battle we're facing here. They knew about this bus agreement back in October. They got this approved plan. They weren't supposed to be developing on this property in the first place. They started on the part that they want, which is the contractor base, which we found out that now the bus, under this new bus deal, they're going to be doing maintenance work there, that was not part of the original approval. So that's up for debate again. But this is why, we need to go to the meeting. And I hope people, if you stuck around to watch this long of a video, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make it this long, but there's so much involved in this. I just wanted to kind of lay out to people how involved this is and the behavior. And there's more. I have other stuff in here, but I could go on. But it's pretty amazing what's occurred here. And, get people to the meeting. Please come to the meeting. If you live in Granite Hill, Granite Heights, Gary Ave, or people that live there, encourage them to please come. We had a great showing last time. We need to do it again. And I fully expect that if the town does deny this, this will not be the end. I'm sure that Mr. Grapponi will appeal to the Zoning Board of Adjustment or to the Superior Court. Either way, this is not done if the town does deny this, which we hope they will. So 6 p.m. Monday evening, 6/19. I believe right now it's currently listed as being in room 105. That's the same room that it was in last time, but if enough people show up, it might be in the gym. Either way, the town offices are pretty small, and you'll just follow the people and come there. Be there, please, please, please come to this meeting. We can only fight this if we stand together. If we lack interest, if we drop off, if we get complacent, we will. This will go on, and eventually they will get their way. Because as you can see, when nobody was keeping an eye on them, and I wasn't aware of this, I wish I was, or I would have stayed on top of them. Again, like I said, when I called the town in 2020, I trusted that the government and the elected officials in this town would do what was right and protect the citizens. And I was absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. I know now that's just not the case. And it shouldn't be. It's sad. As an American, that makes me very, very sad. That that's the way it has to be. But I'll never make that mistake again. And so I hope to see you guys all there again. My name is Jared Williams, and if you stuck around to watch this video and watch me ramble on, I appreciate it. And let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. Hey, God bless. Have a good Saturday afternoon. I hope to see you there on Monday evening.